sandstorm. Hurricane-force winds hit a race across the Sahara Desert, sending a runner off course and into a 10-day ordeal.
I have 3 children. I started to think about them. I thought, I'm going to survive so that I can watch them grow up.
Storm waves. When cyclonic winds churn the ocean's surface, disaster can strike thousands of miles away. Typhoon. When a monster blows into the Philippines, surging waters drive people into the trees. Only a desperate rescue can save a mother and child. Powerful storms. And the people who survive them. Coming up on Storm Warning. Habub, Shamal. Desert people everywhere have a word for sandstorms. Driven by winds of hurricane force, they bring everything to a blinding halt. Even war. In the Persian Gulf, military operations were halted during sandstorms to protect high-tech equipment. But no place on Earth has conditions for sandstorms like the Sahara.
The Sahara is one of the world's largest deserts and has lots of barren ground from which sand and dust can be entrained.
Wind expert Bob Anderson knows the force of Saharan sandstorms.
A sandstorm requires that the wind be strong enough to pick up the sand from the ground. Winds can blow as strong as a couple hundred miles per hour.
This is the inhospitable setting for the Marathon de Sable. A torturous 6-day, 130-mile foot race across Morocco. Competitors carry gear, food, and water in 50-pound packs. The course covers some of the Sahara's worst terrain. This may be the most brutal race on Earth.
I am an athlete who lives for competition. It's very important for me not just to participate, but to win.
Olympic gold medal pentathlete Mauro Prosperi trained in his arid native Sicily to prepare for this grueling event.
It has nothing in common with ordinary marathons in that the terrain is very diverse. There are canyons, there are sands, and of course it's really, really hot during the day and really, really cold during the night.
At the beginning of the 4th day, the runners have already covered over half the course. Mauro is in 6th place. This leg of the race is the most difficult, 45 masochistic miles. The pentathlete paces himself behind the lead pack when the wind begins to pick up. Within minutes, it is howling.
Out of nowhere comes this incredible wind called a gilby, blowing at 40 to 50 miles per hour.
Other runners stay in groups, trying to navigate through the stinging blizzard of sand as the wind speed increases.
If a person is caught out in a sandstorm, it can be like a hailstorm. It can abrade your skin. Dust storms and sandstorms entrain soil particles that include valley fever spores. One wouldn't want to inhale too much dust or sand either. It does get trapped in your lungs. The greatest trauma that could occur is that you could get lost because the visibility is poor.
Mauro is blinded by the storm.
The storm was of such violence that it was literally hard to breathe. It covered you. It hurt you, the sand against your skin. At a certain point, I thought I was about to be buried by the sand. It was incredibly strong.
As the sandstorm abates, runners begin to straggle in. Some are treated for skin abrasions, nosebleeds, and breathing disorders. Race officials begin counting contestants who've crossed the checkpoint. As the sun sets, it's announced that Mauro is missing. When we come back, a runner's ordeal in the desert, and killer waves pound the Florida coast. A Sahara dawn. Mauro Prosperi scans the horizon for signs of other runners he lost track of during a blinding sandstorm.
I didn't think I was lost, but that I had maybe gone a little off course. I wasn't terribly worried because I heard the helicopters. The noise in the desert is tremendously amplified. With this long open distance, you hear many sounds.
The sounds are of a major search for Mauro. The Moroccan military has joined race officials to look for the lost runner. As Mauro sets off across the desert, the temperature quickly rises to 120 degrees.
In the late afternoon, I saw a helicopter coming towards me. I set off 2 flares and thought, okay, he's going to come and get me. I was turning and waving toward him when I realized he was going in the other direction. That moment was a moment of terror, of absolute desperation. It's when I say my life was going away.
The sun sets on the first of a 10-day ordeal. When darkness falls, Mauro must capture and eat bats for meat and the moisture of their blood. At dawn, he takes careful note of the clouds, a sign of where the nearest moisture is.
2 days before this happened, a Bedouin told me that if you find yourself lost, wait until the very first light of dawn, then head in the direction of the clouds.
Mauro travels only in early morning and evening to avoid the midday sun. He begins to ration his 1.5 liters of water. He considers collecting his urine for future need. Meanwhile, the effort to find Mauro continues until another sandstorm stops searchers in their tracks. Still, Mauro presses on.
The sand is a force of nature, like fire, like water, like a storm.
The next day, rescuers are beginning to give up hope. But the athlete's will to survive is strong.
I have 3 children. I started to think about them. I thought, I'm going to survive so that I can watch them grow up. I prayed. I spoke to the dead too.
The 9th Marathon de Sable ends. But the finish is bittersweet. All the competitors know that after 4 days, the Sicilian survival is unlikely. But Mauro continues to walk. He is severely dehydrated, and his liver is starting to fail. On the 8th day, devoid of all hope, he discovers an oasis.
I couldn't drink too much at once because my body couldn't take it. I had a tiny sip of water every 5 minutes for 12 hours, so I was rehydrated again. But now I had a dilemma. Do I leave this oasis or not?
Mauro decides he must leave if he is ever to see his wife and children. Once more, he sets out into the inferno of the desert. There is little time before dehydration will again take over.
The fact that I've been an athlete so long was invaluable to my survival, because at a certain point it's all mental. If I'd lost my head, I wouldn't be here. That's for sure.
2 days later, Mauro stumbles into a nomadic camp. Against all odds, he has survived 10 grueling days in the Sahara. There is joy over Mauro's survival, but he's lost 30 pounds and has a severely low blood count.
My eyes were practically gone, sunk deep into their sockets with black circles. Now I have these deep creases in my face. I can't get rid of them, make them fill back in. They will always stay.
What will also stay with the runner is the sense that he's been changed forever by his desert ordeal, caused by a blinding sandstorm.
Desert fever is nothing more than a search for yourself. When you're there, you can understand what you are. I have no fear of dying after this experience. I am afraid only of not appreciating life.
Up next, monster waves that send a small craft to the ocean's bottom. And a rescue in the Philippines. The menace starts with an ocean storm. The ferocious power of the wind is transformed into enormous wave energy, rolling out hundreds of miles along the ocean's surface. When it hits a distant shoreline, the storm energy piles up into a deadly force. Waves as tall as a 3-story building that crash with 1.5 tons pressure. Surfers call them mackers because they hit like a Mack truck.
Yeah, a good analogy for that would be like throwing a rock in a puddle. The rock hitting the puddle transmits energy all the way across it.
Florida surfers, like meteorologist and wave forecaster Victor Morris, usually only dream of mackers. The slope of America's southeast coast creates gentle surf. The kind Fred Westendorf and his wife were used to in nearby Palm Beach, until one strange Halloween day.
It was a beautiful day, no wind, sun shining, people were on the beach.
Then, the surf begins to grow.
It was something I'd never seen before. It wasn't breaking normal. Some was bigger than others.
Fred's curiosity is piqued. A professional seaman, he decides to take his pilot boat out for a closer look with a friend.
All my years of sailing, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Biggest waves in years will be seen around.
Victor informs local surfers of the huge incoming waves. He knows what's causing them. A major storm, hundreds of miles up the coast, that he's been tracking for days. The storm is pushing wave energy at just the right angle to send it rampaging toward Palm Beach.
What set this storm apart was the winds were stronger, blew over the same water for a longer period of time, and therefore created much bigger than normal surf. Palm Beach got extremely large swells and breakers up to 20 feet in height, which is probably about twice as big as you would see in the biggest swell of a normal winter.
The enormous waves from a distant storm are now threatening to sink Fred's boat.
Regular waves, you head into them. And you find when the waves just calm down, you make your turn and you head in and usually keep ahead of them. But these, you couldn't anticipate what they were doing.
A bystander on a jetty videotapes Fred's desperate situation.
Oh my God! I come around and there was nothing I could do. This big wave just came right over top of us.
Where is it? Under the wave.
And I looked back, it just swamped the pilot boat. because it didn't have enough power to get out of its way.
Despite the wave's crushing force, surfers at a nearby beach can't resist a shot at a macker. Chopper rescue pilots Bobby Johnson and Glenn Maxwell receive a call of a surfer in trouble. But it's a false report.
We did not find anybody that was in distress. As we were getting ready to clear the call, we noticed that the pilot boat was in trouble.
It looked like it was a toy boat in a swimming pool that was being tossed around.
Fred's boat is on the verge of sinking.
While we were setting up and getting our equipment ready to make the rescue, a third wave hit him and took the boat totally under the water.
The next thing I knew, I was bouncing around on the floor in the water and figuring what I was going to do next.
Then, Fred's boat is totally destroyed by the waves.
As I was floating in the seas, I heard this helicopter above me, and they came over and lowered a life ring down.
We got the first individual on board. The second individual during that time had been washed further to the shore, so we had to back the helicopter up and rescue him.
With both men safely aboard, their mission is complete. The pilot boat is left to disintegrate in the rough sea. On shore, many have been hurt by the unexpected swells.
I was just walking along here and the wave just swept me right down the street.
When the waves die down, the coastline lays ripped by the strange and destructive wave storm, the likes of which those who experienced it will never forget.
On the ocean, I've never seen any waves or a day like that. The waves was just wacky.
Up next, a mother and child cling to life in a hurricane. In the vast Pacific Ocean, a typhoon named Unsang grows to nearly 1,000 miles across. And it's bearing down on the Philippines. Torrential rains and destructive winds begin to build on shore. In the seaside city of Manila, a deadly tide rises in the bay with drastic speed. This wall of water, known as the storm surge, is being driven inland by winds in excess of 100 miles per hour. In Manila Harbor, a storm surge can go miles past the high tide mark and as much as 20 feet above sea level. Previous typhoon storm surges have killed thousands in the Philippines and caused millions of dollars in damage. And now, in the poor waterfront district of Provident Village, the drowning tide begins to force people from their homes. The storm is so ferocious that the Philippine military is put on call. Sergeant Alfredo Rebolado goes on rescue duty.
It became apparent that Provident Village was in trouble. We began a rescue mission. We knew that people would need to be evacuated.
140-mile-an-hour winds and torrential rains pound into Provident Village. Pedro Sabijon is at home, waiting out the storm.
We were inside our hut near the riverbank. I noticed the water was higher than its usual level, so I packed our clothes. A few minutes later, a flash flood came toward us.
As the storm surge smashes inland, poorly built homes threaten to crumble. Pedro tries to cross the river to escape the flood.
The water was so high, I couldn't even reach the bottom. The current was too strong. I wasn't able to swim straight, and the current carried me away. I drank a lot of water and nearly drowned. I was out of breath. I thought I was going to die.
Pedro grabs hold of a tree branch and clings for dear life. As the water continues to rise, others scramble up into trees. Among them is a woman with a newborn infant.
Approaching the area, we were on the lookout and found people stranded on top of the trees.
To save them, Revelado begins the most desperate rescue of his career. He keeps a tight grip on the slippery rungs of the rescue ladder.
I was not trained to rescue 3 at the same time, but since this was exceptional circumstances, it seemed the only way to save them. I took the risk.
Buffeted by howling winds, Revelado helps the 3 people hang on to his ladder until he can deliver them to shore. Then the rescuer goes back for the young mother.
I could tell that she wanted to survive and to get out of that place. I didn't know there was a 1-month-old baby with her. When she held him out to me, he cried, so I took him. To save the child, he slammed his body into a tree. I could never forget seeing that happen. I think that Sergeant Revelado is a hero.
Another helicopter team is lowered to rescue Pedro.
When we saw that helicopter was lowering its rope ladder, we were very happy that we were going to be saved.
Even after the storm surge recedes, the area is still flooded, leaving over 100,000 Filipinos homeless. Crops in this agricultural area are ruined, causing many to go hungry.
Nothing was left to us except the clothes we were wearing. Everything was devastated.
It's an endless cycle. Acts of heroism saved many people from this storm surge. But the fierce winds of Pacific typhoons will always push drowning tides far onshore in the Philippines, and any other landmass that happens to be in their way.